Hello you lot, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Spurs have beaten Man United 3-0 away. People are going to be having a field day about this. Jose Mourinho, even more pressure on him now as the neutral one. I'm going to try and stay in the middle here because I need to talk about Man United without going too far overboard, because 3-0, was it a 3-0 scoreline? I'll read out the match stats in a second, but I'm not sure it was a 3-0 scoreline. And then on the other side of it, Spurs with a perfect, really, away performance, 3-0 away to a Man United side, and going to Old Trafford where they haven't done very well in the past. They've got to be absolutely delighted. Let's go through the match stats before I talk about the lineups, which was a big bone of contention for a lot of people. So this is how it ended up: 57% possession to Man United, 23 shots to 9 for Spurs. 5 shots on target though, 5 shots on target for Spurs, which is a big stat there that shows an aspect of the game, I think, a little bit. Corners, 5 to Man United, 2 to Spurs, and fouls, 11 to 16. The big thing was the starting lineups, and it was something that was, I think Mourinho would have known going into the game that if they lost, and if they lost badly, this was going to be something that people were going to talk about. He dropped by. Not only that, he dropped by from his match day squad, and he dropped Lindelof to the bench as well, and he played a back three of Smalling, Jones and Herrera. Obviously Herrera's normally a centre midfielder, working hard, crashing about, making big challenges. Put him in a back three. In the first half, I thought he did okay. Let's talk about the first half, and then we'll get to the second half where it all changed, and of course those 3 goals were scored. The first half for me was a good start from Man United. I think you saw the intention of that team to try and put forward the idea that they are behind the manager. They wanted to respond after an awful result last week against Brighton, and I thought they started well. In the first half, I think the people that were impressed me in particular, it was Luke Shaw. I think throughout the game, I think Man United's best players for me, in terms of the players that caught my eye, I'd have to say was Luke Shaw as the left wing back. I think he's guaranteed now, or he should be, given that chance to be the guaranteed left back for Man United. And you saw Mourinho at the end of that game go straight up to him, give him a hug and say, look, you put in all the effort that you could have. I thought he was competent, I thought he was confident. I think he had a bit of a problem for the first goal, which we'll get into. Second goal, which we'll go into. But overall, I thought Luke Shaw was good. Fred as well. I think people have been waiting to see what you're really going to get from Fred. I think he's an all-action midfielder. He's being that third runner a lot of the time. And in that team, when you're going to play Lingard and Lukaku up top, you do need a little bit more help up there as well, because you're playing wing-backs in Valencia and Shaw. So you're going to be slightly disconnected to that front too. And I thought Fred was making some really good, strong runs and trying to support Lingard and Lukaku in the first half. In terms of chances, and this is what it's about, goals has changed games, and Danny Rose, who I thought was actually quite poor in his first start for Spurs today, and killed me in my fantasy team, by the way. Ben Davies not playing, that really wound me up. But Rose looked a little bit nervous, I think, throughout the game, to be honest. I think he certainly tried his best, and that's inevitable. It's a big game, it's a big ground, it's a move that he was linked with for a long time, and so get him put in a big game like that, you can be a little bit nervous. But he made a bad mistake in the first half, trying to play it back to the goalkeeper, Lloris, and Lukaku got there first. He went round the goalkeeper, and that's a huge moment when he's missed an open goal. He has essentially missed an open goal. And look, when we go down the line and you look at this Harry Kane goal for the first goal, that's the difference. That's one of the big differences in his teams, is that Harry Kane is so clinical. Would Harry Kane have missed that chance? I'm not sure he would have. Lukaku does miss that chance, and that's huge for Mourinho and Man United, because if they can get that first goal, then the substitutions are different, the pattern of play is going to be a little bit different, and they could have soaked up the pressure, something I'm sure they would have been a lot more comfortable doing than chasing the game like they had to in the second half. Wasn't all Man United though, of course. In the first half, I thought Lucas Moura, who went on, of course, to score 2 goals, I thought it was interesting where they put him in a more central area. I think a lot of people just go, Lucas Moura, he's a winger. He is not a winger. He's devastating in those central areas. And for Spurs this season, I think Lucas Moura could be a regular in those big games, certainly away from home. Because on the counter-attack, if you can get the ball to him facing goal in a central area, he's going to be devastating, which he was, of course, for the third goal. Ali had a chance which showcased what Herrera can do defensively in terms of his positioning, because I think he missed the first ball, but he never really had a chance to get it, and he was able to get back and do a great block to stop Dele Alli. Spurs got into a little bit more in the last few minutes of the first half, but overall I think it was pretty even in the first half. Could have said it was 1-1. Of course, actually, the one thing I didn't talk about, definitely a penalty for me. Phil Jones has totally taken out Lucas Moura after a cracking run, and I was amazed that he didn't give that. If that exact same thing happens at home or at the other end of the pitch, that would have been a penalty. The fact it was Old Trafford, the fact that it was certainly it was a away game, I think that played a part in him not giving it. But he went into half time, and I tweeted it myself, I think. I was thinking the first 15 minutes and the first goal of the game was going to be crucial, but in particular that first 15 minutes, because it could set the tone. And they came out the blocks, Spurs. It was from nothing really, wasn't it? It was a corner, and Harry Kane, that header is unbelievable. For your centre forward, he's not built like a Lukaku, so he shouldn't be bullying anyone in the air like that. But his understanding of where the ball's going to go, his ability to jump up, he's moving backwards as well, to be able to get that power to understand where he needs to put the ball. There could be some calls of saying you need to have two people on the post, but I'm not sure that happens as often as it did back in the day. But it did cost him on this occasion, with Harry Kane with a fantastic header to give them the lead. And the bottom line is, I think, when you look at these two teams on paper, the centre-backs for the Spurs side are stronger. The centre-backs for Spurs are stronger in comparison to Man United. I don't think anyone can argue that. In midfield, Dembele, I thought, did the hard work, as well as looking to keep the ball and giving them that bit of respite when they need it, and taking it in difficult areas and keeping a hold of it, surging past first man. He had a real battle with Pogba, I don't think he was awful, but I think he's low on confidence. You can see that a little bit. And he's trying stuff because he is a cracking player, and he will continue to do so. And he'll get there. He will get there. And he tried. But Dembele, I think, probably got the best of him up to about 60 minutes. He seemed to move over to the right-hand side in the second half, especially when Sanchez came on. But then you look at the final end of the pitch, Kane and Lucas Moura against Lukaku and Lingard. You saw that Lucas Moura and Kane, that's actually a stronger two. Kane's better than Lukaku. And Lingard, for me, is he a striker? No, he's not a striker. He's an attacking midfielder. And for you to be playing at home with three at the back, and for him to be there in the pitch, it doesn't work for me. It really, really doesn't, because you've got a guy who doesn't truly want to dribble with the ball. He's a guy who's got a great ability to make that late run. He didn't do that enough in this game, or he looked to, but the quality around the pitch and the ability for the wing-backs to get further up the pitch, when they were able to move up, they did do a bit of damage in the first half. But in the second half, as I said, Kane got that header, incredible goal. Straight after, it's the same thing I've been talking about. Lukaku's down the other end. He has a chance. It's a tough chance. I'm not saying he should score it, but he doesn't score it. Lloris with a good save. And then, a minute or two later, a clinical counter-attack. Luke Shaw slightly at fault for me. Herrera, though, this is what I'm talking about in terms of the mistake, really. You've got to sometimes stick with centre-backs when they make mistakes. It's inevitable. It's a bit like goalkeepers. You've got to give them that second chance. I know they made individual mistakes, but Lindelof or Bailly should be playing as a centre-back. Herrera, and I'm being a hypocrite slightly, aren't I? Because if you go back to what I'm saying at the start, if Man United win that game, then you could go, look, Herrera playing as a centre-back, you can trust him as a player, you can trust that he's going to give his all, and it would have been the right decision. But that second goal for me showcased why it probably wasn't the right decision, because that ball comes across. It's a great cross to Lucas Moura from Dele Alli, I think it was. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But there is a moment there where you need to be on your front foot. You need to be brave. You need to make that block challenge. You don't have to be outrageous with it. You don't have to go diving in, but you need to be on the front foot as a defender there. It was pathetic what Herrera did. Pathetic, that attempt to block that ball. And then it's 2-0 before it's got to even 60 minutes, and you're on the back foot. Mourinho, to his credit, I think he made as positive a set of substitutions as he probably could have made. Fellaini going on, he's going to give you an option going long. Sanchez came on, I thought he buzzed about and tried. And Man United, I think they huffed and puffed, but Spurs as a team for me are a better side than Man United. I think that was shown today. Because that back four, they know each other, they know how to defend. They're players who are playing in positions that they've played for a million times. Vertonghen and Lindelof were brilliant. And then the changes that were made for Spurs. Sergio Aurier coming on for Trippier. Ben Davies coming on for Rose. They know how they're going to play. They know their pattern of play. And it's a squad that knows each other. So much chat about Spurs and the fact that they haven't made any signings. But they have a stable, solid, strong squad with players who are hungry. And that showed today. I think Man United fans will look at this Spurs squad and be slightly jealous at the continuity that they have and the knowledge of how they're going to play. Flav said it in a preview on the Friday when you don't really need to talk about Spurs. You know what you're going to get from them. And that can be sometimes slightly unsexy, I guess, when you're looking for new transfers. But there's a knowledge in what they're doing and who they're playing with, how they're going to play, what balance that they've got in this team, and they do have cracking balance. And then the third goal, just to put salt in the wound, Moura, again, I spoke about it earlier, him in that central area in an away game, when you're counter-attacking, getting him one-on-one with the centre-back, or even if it's two-on-one, he's got that killer pace and he's so direct. Get him in that area in those big games away from home is going to be massive. Great skip away from Smalling, who had a tough game. Didn't make any huge glaring mistakes for me. But when you're 2-0 down, you're going for it, there's going to be pockets of space. And there was on the counter-attack and he smashed it in the goal. And it's a 3-0 win for Spurs. An amazing victory for them. 9 points out of 9. They've got to be buzzing with that. For Mourinho, I think at the end of the game, I was really impressed with what he did there. He came out and the camera was right there in his face. And you're thinking, what's he going to do here? Is he going to lose it a little bit? And what he did was he went and consoled his players. He showed the right attitude, I think an attitude that other managers have been showing, and he's been so dour, but I thought it was the right move, and you've got to give him credit for that. He then stood in front of the fans that were remaining, and a lot had gone, and there was a moment where he was applauding them. I haven't seen his post-match interview yet, so I'll find out what he said soon, I'm sure. But from that moment, I thought you saw that the Man United fans aren't getting carried away. There's no need to panic. It was an important game, but it wasn't a must-win game. They'll come back and they'll get stronger, but the confidence is low. There is a tension in the air. They need to start winning games and they need to start scoring goals. And when they can do that, then you'll see every single one of those players will be seen in a higher light. But at this moment in time, when I look at that Spurs team and I look at that Man United team, there's no doubt in my mind who's going to be finishing higher at the end of the season. It's going to be Spurs, not Man United. That thing at the end for me was massive. It really, really was. Mourinho showing a different side of himself, showing that it's about us. And I think that's a big, big moment. Will they push on from that, despite it being 3-0? I know it's strange for me to say that. I think that could be a massive, massive thing in him surviving this third season syndrome that he's been under the spell of at every club he's been at. But that was it. I mean, devastating result for Man United. The press will have a field day, but it's not the end of the world for Man United, but it is a big, big loss. Changes need to be made. The centre-backs need to regain their confidence. Mourinho needs to show a bit more confidence, I think, in them as well, because it's just not offering that stability, and there are key moments in a game where you just need a proper defender and a proper centre-back. A team like Man United cannot be playing a centre midfielder in the back three. They're too big a club with too much money and too big a squad to be doing that, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on the 3-0 victory for Spurs against Man United. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The Great Touch for a Big Lad podcast is back. Link is in the description, as is a link to all my socials. Subscribe to this channel if you're new and you've enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up as well, I'd really appreciate it. If you're here by the end of the video, then go on, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it as I try and get finally to 10k. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.